Yeah. So that view of that room, I think that God, where did I see this? I think I saw this when I started the luxury program through
Oh,
Travel
yeah,
Leaders.
right. One of the modular, or yep,
Mhm.
through,
And
was
I
it like,
saw this and went, oh
it's
my
part,
gosh.
yep, it's part of the select program. In fact, many of the lodges are, which is really fantastic. And I'm getting more of them to see the opportunity,
Have you
because
been to this lodge, that one there?
I have been to all but one of the lodges.
Oh,
The terrible job, terrible job.
that, I mean, that view. So I get asked all the time, hi there. I get asked all the time about Bora Bora, and my favorite hotel there was the Conrad. And people go, oh, well, it doesn't have a view of whatever the mountain is. I always forget the name of that mountain in Bora Bora. And I said, because we stayed at the Four Seasons and we also saw all the other resorts. And I said, you know why? I said, the Conrad is so modern now and they have those accordion doors. And I could lay on my
Ah,
bed with the accordion doors open, stare at this beautiful water. And then
yep.
they had Bluetooth built into the ceiling. So I put my phone on and listened to James Taylor.
Oh,
Well, and I
oh,
just said, I go, you cannot
that,
negate these beautiful. And then you go to Four Seasons and they had these rounded doors, and then they had the thatch coming over. So like I'm laying on there and you could barely see
good.
the water from your bed. And I was like, so then you had to sit on your patio, which is fine. But I was like, no, you want to lay on your bed. I mean,
Yeah.
if it's
Oh,
me, like I want to lay there and just kind of stare and be like,
well, it's so fantastic that that they're open, that they open their borders, and fingers crossed,
I
they
have
don't go
clients
back.
there right now. So
Good.
yeah, I know she flew and I was like, no phone call at midnight. I was like, she got on that flight and I was like, she made it. Okay, that's good.
That's that's fantastic.
I know.
Exactly. It's it.
Yeah.
I won't hear from her for another 12 hours. So
I know. Well, I was like, as long as because she kept having issues trying to get that 72-hour or less COVID test.
well,
So,
more and more, yeah, more and more destinations are requiring that, and trying to get the results back in 72 hours, or the test within 72. I mean, like, you
right,
can't
right,
facilitate that, or it's
right.
really it's a challenge.
Yeah. And then she
Um,
kept saying, well, we got this from our doctor. And I thought, oh, I bet you she didn't get the right one. And I'm like, and she had insurance for
but
canceling the reason, but she
did
had to cancel 2 days before.
we will get to this presentation for those of you who've joined us.
I do.
Susan and I just have a chat here.
Yeah. I
Did
know.
you
Let me
see?
go
Did
look.
you see that? Did you see that American Airlines is now kind of not mandate? Well, they are mandating a certified negative COVID test, but like, what does that mean? So, like, I can just say I haven't had COVID, or do you know what the technicality on that
Someone
is?
sent this off this morning and I thought it was here. Let's go look here.
It's an American Airlines policy.
Because I'm flying them in like 10 days.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I'm like, we're
Well,
keeping you safe. Okay, so you have to, they have been free of COVID symptoms for the last 14 days at check-in. Oh, maybe
oh,
there's something else today though.
is
Yeah, I
that?
gotta look.
Yep, it's maybe just your word against, I don't know,
I mean, it
somebody
is,
else.
it's a little weird. So we have 12 people, so I'm just looking to make sure I can look at who's coming. Not that everybody comes in at the right time, but I usually give
Yeah,
about 5-6 minutes to make sure everybody gets in there. I sent everyone a reminder.
thank you.
But yeah, so things change every day, and I'm just as confused as everyone else. I tell people, I go, look, I can't keep up. I just got something from Mexico, which Mexico has the least amount of issues right now with trying to get in there, but it was just an issue. It was just saying like the spas aren't open. So because for a while I was like, I'm not reading anything about COVID unless it's official, because people
Okay.
start bringing stuff up, and then I say, look, like somebody's like, oh well, Australia is going to open, and I'm like, what blog did you read this on?
Yeah. Right.
And I'm like, until it comes from the tourism board, I'm like, or the government,
The government.
or Hawaii is this or Hawaii is that, and I'm like, somebody was like, oh, Hawaii is going to, and I'm like, nope, until I get it from an official place, I go, I'm not going to do anything, because what happens then is our team then starts scramble, trying to deal with stuff. And we can't change anything
Mhm.
until our vendor knows, because then they can't change anything or else people are going to pay.
Well, and that's where you as a travel advisor is going to be so valuable, to your clients, because you can decipher all of that intel and give them the straight line,
Yeah.
because we are getting bombarded with a news feed, but it's not all kind of whatever, legit. So um,
Yeah. I
anyways,
agree.
so it's been a tough
Yeah.
few months, but you guys are going to be extremely valuable going forward.
Well, and I really hope so. And I think the idea, like I think I said this to you yesterday when we talked on the phone, was there is the people want to take better experience trips is what I'm finding. Yes, we're going to still have those, hey, we want to go to Mexico for 3 days, but it is the, hey, we want an experience and we want to go and we want to do it right. We want to go sit in there and go look at, you know, this it's AYERS Rock, right?
It's AYERS Rock. We call it ULURU now. It's
And
the
that must,
Aboriginal name. But
I was gonna say it must be Aboriginal. Yep. So, you know, they want that instead of the cookie cutter blah 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 trips. And they want to wait a little bit longer maybe, or they want to, you know, not go as often on trips if they want that trip to mean a little bit more. And that's why I'm spending time trying to become a luxury travel person and stuff like that, saying, okay, I want people who want to have this. It's okay. I love you.
Well,
oh no, you're good. Sorry, my daughter's leaving.
I'm also hearing fewer kind of, but better, you know, being people, exactly. Travelers willing to forego, but when they go, they're going to kind of go big or bigger than usual. And maybe, and within Australia, we have these lodges that can be that kind of wow factor. You can, I love a multi-luxury lodge itinerary, but I love if you can just include one lodge at an end of an itinerary as like a, you know, the crescendo, the fireworks. So, and that's, these lodges deliver all of that on the experiential.
I totally agree. I totally agree. Why don't we get started? I'll watch for the people joining. You start, and then if, like I've said before with any of my people here, is that if you have questions, go ahead and put it in the chat. And then at the end, we can engage also, but if you have it in the chat, and then I'll go ahead and engage with her. And she's got some, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen prettier photos, and that's exactly why I had Libby come here. So this is Libby Cook, and you are with Luxury Lodge. Is that the company?
Yeah. So I represent the luxury lodges of Australia here in the U.S. and North America. My company is called Antipodal, so my email is, that's why it's libby@antipodal.net. But I am your point of contact. So I'm here to kind of inspire, provide a lot of storytelling, assist you, Susan, with any inquiries, but ultimately you're working through whatever partners, but I'm here to, on the ground, to create exposure, visibility, training for the luxury lodges. And it's a pretty,
the other areas that you also do, just to
so, in addition to the luxury lodges, I represent some train journeys through Australia. So another way to see more of the interior of Australia. It's almost like a river ship where it's a fully inclusive experience. You're on board, stops along the way. You then spend a half a day exploring, and then back on the train for remarkable kind of food and wine and hospitality. So you're using the train to kind of traverse Australia.
Right.
And then I can dovetail my lodges, maybe pre or post on something like that. I also represent Hookah Lodge in New Zealand. And Kokomo Private Island in Fiji.
Which we did do with Stu. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Love
so
that.
Again,
I'm going there someday. I know I am.
It's a terrible job.
I know. I actually had somebody ask how much it was to do the whole island.
Oh.
He said like $150,000 a night.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. And I was like,
for an exclusive buyout. I mean, you get some of the, I want 40 of my nearest and dearest. And
well, and it's a friend of ours, and I go, well, I'm going if you're doing that. You know that, right?
You have to.
But that's awesome. I love this. I love this. I can't stop staring at this. So you go ahead. I'm going to leave it over to you.
So I am passionate about Australia, and really proud to represent these luxury lodges. Let me tell you a little bit about kind of the background of this. This is a marketing collective. There's 19 luxury lodges. They all came together 10 years ago because they realized that they really couldn't create the visibility and tell the world that that they are showcasing these remarkable experiences individually. But 19 of them coming together, that creates a little bit more of a marketing kind of, puts us on the map, essentially. It was at a time when half of these lodges were brand new. So it was a change. It was like a new breed of luxury in Australia, and it was experiential luxury. So all of these lodges are located outside of city centers. So none of them are in Melbourne or Sydney or Darwin or Adelaide or Cairns, Perth. They all showcase regional experiences. So that could be Outback, which is the brown kangaroos. Blue represents coastal islands and reef. We have green for everything from culinary to rainforest. We also have some mountain bush experiences. Again, each of these lodges, how they interpret that destination and infuse it into the guest experience, that's the exciting part for me. It's not how similar these lodges are. It's actually how they create that sense of place. How do they connect you? It's very much a sensory experience. So some of the lodges are big design, kind of cool luxe lodges, and others are literally glamping or tree houses.
Yeah, look at that one on the bottom right.
Silky Oaks Lodge up in the Daintree.
Mm.
I love the diversity. I love showcasing all that Australia has. Most of the North Americans, we get to Sydney and we kind of stay on that East Coast, but there's so much more if you can venture a little bit into the interior, again, the outback. You're looking at Uluru there at the top left. But some of them speak to more of a safari type experience with more natural history and wildlife viewing, like wildlife in the wild. So it's about these lodges creating a connection and a sense of place in that destination. All of these are these uniquely Australian locations. So it's all about, again, remember 10 years ago, people only really went to Sydney, Rock and Reef, which is still that iconic itinerary. But now there's just more choice and there's more ways to experience Australia. They all speak to that experience, that luxury expectation of what we call eat well, drink well, sleep well. So the service, the product is all top tier, but it's really that experience X factor, how they interpret the destination. And again, I love the exclusivity and the access to the environment, the people, the product, the place, the knowledge, remarkable sustainability initiatives with each of these lodges. So positive impact with all of these lodges. These lodges are located in areas that otherwise you would not have access to. Many of them are inside wilderness protected areas. But the ship you're looking at, that's True North, that has a helicopter. You can fly inland in the Kimberley region and view Aboriginal rock art that's relatively inaccessible.
Wow.
I love the expression privilege of place. You know those destinations where you've traveled and you have that moment of gratitude where you're just so fortunate to be there, to experience that. Most of that creation of that sense of place and connection is provided by the expert guides and hosts. So many of the lodges are fully inclusive, not all of them, but many of them are, where that it's those interpretives that, or I should say those naturalists or guides that provide the interpretive and again, create that connection. There's many of the lodges offer an experience or speak to the indigenous culture as it's kind of core to their story, obviously. The lodges each provide various levels of conservation. I mentioned sustainability, but many of them offer that hands-on engagement for the guests. And again, relating to the community and the people. It's all about the people wherever we go, as you know. I like this slide because if you haven't been to Australia, you really might not have a true sense of the size. So if you look at the top right, the blue, that's the United States, overlaid Australia. Australia is essentially the same size as the US. And you would never probably venture to the US for 2 weeks and think you can do it all. That's why I have 19 lodges. There's plenty of trips you can right. sequence, but right. But then later in our discussion, I'll talk about some of the seasonality because then many times that will frame what part of Australia you might want to venture to.
Right.
So it's a marketing collective, but to showcase the range of experiences that Australia has to deliver.
So I have two questions. One is, are your lodges geared towards adults or are they family friendly?
So both.
Okay.
We can speak to the honeymoon market and segment. Many of the lodges are absolutely family friendly at okay. various levels. So the Luxury Lodge website, there's we actually detail for you which lodges. It's when is it age appropriate for the kids? It's not about kids clubs or camps. It's right. when do the kids connect and be able to kind of absorb and feel the destinations at the same time. So some of those lodges are more appealing for, minimum age. Well, a few lodges take all kids. Others are minimum 6 or 8 or 10, 12 or 16. Okay. So
and then both. If you were going to do like an ideal trip, what's a great idea for someone who wants to go for their first time and do an ideal trip?
Okay, first time trip. Again, we can venture to any of the lodges. I put together sort of what we call that iconic itinerary. I mentioned Sydney Rock and Reef as a fantastic, but I like to put a little spin on that and insert silky oaks in the Daintree rainforest. So this is what I call rock rainforest and reef. Maybe starting in Sydney or Melbourne and then flying about 3, almost 4 hours to the spiritual heart of Australia. This is Ayers Rock, what we now call Uluru. It is the most sacred to the Aboriginal people. Our luxury lodge is called Longitude 131, and it is a luxury tented camp, essentially. We have 15 one-bedroom tents, and the Dune Pavilion is our 2-bedroom. From the moment you touch down, everything is included. Your transfers, your accommodations, all of your signature touring. You dine out under the stars every other night. But you're here to better understand the Aboriginal culture, why this area is so sacred, to hear their stories, and also to just enjoy. It's owned by the Bailey Lodges, the hospitality. Help yourself. We have a number of bars throughout the property. It's all first name basis. I want you to absolutely embrace the destination and understand the significance, but come back and just enjoy the lodge amenities. We dine out, again, under the stars every other night. We interpret the night sky. A that. We're waking up to a sunrise over the rock. And you can actually, you can sleep out on the balcony there in a swag sleeping bag. We can light the fire at night, and there's no ambient light. So if you can imagine inside it like a snow globe, from your horizon all the way up into the horizon, the night sky and the depth of the stars, it's truly magical. But it is like, that's why this area is sacred for a reason. We partner with the Ernabella Arts Community, which is a couple hours away, but there's opportunities to visit these artisans. It's all female, which is kind of amazing. And we're really creating an economic impact. We feature all of their artwork and their beautiful pottery in the gift shop. And it's an opportunity to give back and to allow them to pass on their kind of artisan skills to the next generation. We take you in our private vehicles, small guided groups, to the base of the rock, to the significant areas. We tell you that this area was more of a, I think that was the kitchen because of the rock art that is interpretive. Then there's a teaching kind of cave and an area where the grandparents would hang out, I guess. So there's parts of the rock that are still, that are sacred, no photographs. They're not allowed. It's an oral tradition. The history it's not written down. So the men pass their stories down to their women, the men to their sons, the mothers to their daughters, and knowledge is not to be shared. So it's a fascinating living culture. And there are, again, parts of the rock where we will never know what happens there because we are not of their culture. So it's absolutely fascinating. There is an outdoor art installation called the Field of Light that we also take you there. So
I've always wanted to see that. This reminds me a lot of like when I went to South Africa safari.
It's very much
high
end.
Yep,
it's high end, like a Singita, because of the fully inclusive element.
Yeah.
And then I mentioned the Ernabella Arts.
Oh my gosh.
So starting with the rock, we can then fly from Uluru to Cairns, which is about a 4-hour flight, drive 1 hour north, and this puts you just outside the Daintree rainforest, which is the oldest living rainforest in the world, which was new to me when I learned that. This is the series of tree houses. It's also owned by the same company, the Bailey Lodges.
I didn't realize the rainforest was that close to the barrier reef. I would have thought it would have been flat, dry.
Right. So this is tropical North Queensland. Basically the main of Australia, kind of that northeast corner there.
Well, I did pass my test, but I didn't realize that the topography was the same.
Yeah, so the top third of Australia is all tropical. It's wet and dry seasons.
Gotcha.
We're open year round, although we're actually undergoing an amazing renovation right now. So we'll reopen in April of next year. But using Silky Oaks as your base camp, you can explore not only the rainforest, you can venture out to the Great Barrier Reef on one of the charters from Port Douglas. And it's a long day. It's about 2 hours on the boat, but you can absolutely kind of check off Great Barrier Reef with a stay at Silky. And then we have the local kuku yalanji, so an indigenous kind of experience is offered as well. But
What's that? What's that?
oh, that's the people, the local
Thank you.
local Aboriginals. It's the
Sorry.
tribe,
you.
essentially.
Yep.
So just a couple images of what we're going to create, a much more open kind of contemporary styling. But we sit up, we're nestled up in the treetop, so you feel the sights and the sounds. You feel the immersive, you feel the connection. There's a healing energy here. So below us is the Mossman Gorge. The clarity of the water is gorgeous. You can spend time looking for the platypus, and also the giant. All I can think of is cassava. That's a fruit. A cassowary. What's wrong with me? The cassowary. If you ever saw the movie Up, it's the bird Kevin. That's a cassowary. So you want to spend a half day just on Silky, on the property to go river snorkeling or paddle boarding. We've got some little water sport toys. We can take you 5 minutes to the Mossman Gorge, which is where the kuku yalanji can take you on a guided walk through their land. You can learn about their bush tucker, which is the plants, and go forage for food. You can go mud crabbing and spearing. So you can, again, listen, the way that they live, very different than the indigenous out at Ayers Rock or Uluru.
Yeah.
But then, there's my cassowary. I knew I had one.
Oh my gosh, how pretty
So
they are.
So a stay at Silky Oaks is absolutely rainforest, but it could be reef, and it's absolutely indigenous at the same time. So you can do quite a bit. I'd say 3 nights is an ideal length of stay at most all of these lodges. 4 maybe at Silky if you want that full day out to the reef. If you have the time and the means, Lizard Island is our luxury lodge, one of 2 that offer that Great Barrier Reef experience. So about an hour's drive from Silky Oaks back to Cairns, and then a 45-minute flight out to Lizard Island. Lizard Island is the only luxury accommodation on the Great Barrier Reef. It is the destination. That's the only thing there. It is absolutely surreal. It is family, but definitely honeymoon friendly. And it's an island with 24 white sand beaches.
Oh my gosh.
You can.
That doesn't even look real.
It's barefoot. It's paradise. But it's heavy on the water sports. So you're snorkeling and diving. There is a spa. There is a hike, which I'll share with you in a second. But really, it's for those beach goers, the beach babies.
Yeah, my husband's a diver. This is where he'd want to go.
Exactly, because actually right from this beach, you walk right off with your snorkel, and you can snorkel over a giant clam garden. These little covered boats, you can sign out. They have a little tiny horsepower engine. You can put together a picnic lunch and then take yourself on one of the backside beaches because again, there's 24 beaches. So they're all little tiny inlets. So it is, again, it's barefoot, it's delightful. But it is an opportunity to snorkel and dive on the Great Barrier Reef. We have world-class diving. There's the cod hole, which are these Jurassic-sized potato cods, which kind of freak you out. But it's seriously, it's kind of insane.
I can't dive, so I get a little freaked out. I dove in, I snorkel, and a turtle came up, and I almost drowned my husband, so.
Well, the clarity is so good right off the beach. You can just snorkel. When I paddleboard, I start to kind of, lose my balance because I'm paddling over reef, which is not a good sign if you wipe out, if you fall off. And there's parrotfish right underneath me, right off the beach.
God, that's awesome.
But I should also mention there's a research station on Lizard Island, and that they're providing all kinds of governmental research programs. The bleaching on not where we are, but further north, they're watching it's more of a stress on the coral, a slight temperature increase, and that's what's causing some of the coral to essentially be stressed. The Great Barrier Reef is not all dying. The reef is 1,100 miles long. It's the same length as the west coast of the US. You can see it from space. So the Great Barrier Reef is very much alive. There are parts of it that are under stress, but so it's fascinating having a chat with the researchers. But the one hike available is up to an area, a high point on the island called Cook's Look. Here, it's reported that Captain Cook hiked up to this point, and he looked for a passageway through the reef for his boat to venture off. He was kind of stuck on the inside of Australia. He couldn't get across the reef, and it's from this point. So it's called Cook's Look. It's a pretty great climb, and you then sign a register if you get to the top. So
That's awesome.
Yeah. So anyways, each of these lodges delivering a remarkable, whether it's
I want to go to all of them so far. So
okay. I only
I
have
haven't picked
15,
one I like
15
best yet.
I've got 15 more to go. No, I'm kidding. But I will
No,
I will touch on a couple.
I
I'll
haven't
touch
picked one I like best yet. I know.
no, I'll touch on a couple others.
That's so cool. Now, you were saying earlier that honeymooners, I know we just saw that there. Do you have like a honeymoon itinerary that would be something for, because I know honeymooners are a lot of what I sell, and they are always looking, I mean, in some ways it's funny, but it's also awesome. They're looking for that awesome trip that no one else has done, that can be the Instagram, you know, hey, look at
Yeah.
me.
Right.
They're
Graham
the
Worthy.
hot body people, you know, I
We
love
got
them.
to we got to get it on the gram. You're absolutely right. So yes, we have, like I said, most all of the lodges are honeymoon friendly, but some a little bit more so than others. So what we have on the Luxury Lodge website are a few itineraries. One we reference is Honeymoon Luxe. So those are going to be some of the bigger, maybe design type properties, or Honeymoon Barefoot, which is more of our glamping. So I'll just touch on a few here. QUALIA is our second luxury lodge that features Great Barrier Reef. So as you can see, it's on an island called Hamilton Island, and there's nonstop. Yeah, so it's a larger island. It's not standalone like Lizard Island. There's other accommodations, but QUALIA is private and gated and exclusive. 60, it's the largest of the lodges, 60 individual pavilions offering privacy, and half of them have plunge pools. As you enter through these Jurassic gates, you enter this sanctuary. It is calming. I kind of feel, I say when I was at QUALIA, I guess it was last year, I feel a little prettier. I feel a little, I feel a little skinnier, and I think my teeth are whiter.
Well,
QUALIA's got it all going on, and it's not. There's
my husband must get more hair too. It looks like.
That's right, and we all wear our gorgeous frocks.
And jackets.
It really is this dreamy though. It's very subtle.
Top right, I can do that for sure.
Yeah, it's very subtle. It's understated. That's what the word QUALIA means: collection of deeper, understated experiences. The beauty of QUALIA is that, yes, you have this remarkable property with 2 restaurants and a spa and a pool and your private pavilions, but everyone gets a little 2-seater golf cart, and you can venture the 1.5 miles back to the village, where there's 10 more restaurants with signing privileges back to QUALIA. There's boutiques, there's an animal park where you can hold a koala, there's hiking trails, and there's more than 60 activities to get you out to the Great Barrier Reef as a gateway. So we're not on the reef, but we are about 1.5 hours from the reef by boat. Or you can absolutely take a day and explore the Whitsunday Island group where we're situated, because that's the image on the left is Hill Inlet. Fun fact, every time I go onto my American Airlines redemption miles, that's the header slot, the picture. I'm like, why do you guys have
that? It's so funny.
Sundays.
I gotta go call. I'm gonna go look today. I gotta go do that. I'm gonna go check
it's
out.
Really, again, it's breathtaking in the water. But so QUALIA is also Great Barrier Reef, but it's an island with amenities. So you have the extra dining. There's a golf course. It's for the person who absolutely wants to check off Great Barrier Reef, but maybe they want a larger island with other things to do. Exactly.
Right.
Their latest experience that they created last year, it's called Heart Island. No more than 6 people venture into the helicopter. It's a half a day. So about 1 hour out to the reef, you fly over this Heart Island, which is a natural coral formation. But just off that image is a floating pontoon where we have this helipad. And below that is a beautiful lounge. And tucked inside is our glass bottom motorboat. So it's all very 007. And you can snorkel right off the pontoon here and then board the boat, and we can then drive you around the Heart. Like it's over the top. It's again, traveling deeper, going a little bit further, that kind of experience. That's what these lodges each deliver in their own right. Wow. And then the island itself, I mentioned there's infrastructure, and they have some fun activities. Sometimes they'll have the Australian Ballet perform under the stars. They have the Audi Race Week, which is a gorgeous regatta. So that's the very, very different than Lizard Island and QUALIA, both dreamy in their own right. Emirates One and Only Wogan Valley is our luxury lodge situated just outside of Sydney. It's about 2.5 hour drive. It's set in the mountains, in the Blue Mountains, and it offers what we call a quintessential Australian bush experience. This is 7,000 acres and Wolgan Valley. Oh my gosh, there's so much. It's by day, it's almost frontier-like in that you can go mountain biking and hiking and horseback riding. It's like early 1900s Colorado or Montana.
Mm-hmm.
But at 4 o'clock, you venture into the safari vehicles and you go game viewing.
Yep.
Um,
Wow.
And it is stunning. So you're seeing kangaroos and wallabies and wallaroos and wombats all in the wild, up close and personal. It is, it's an amazing, again, Australian bush experience. You're set in this valley. Oh, I love a wombat. That's what that little animal is in the top image. Great for, again, couples because it's so close to Sydney. It's an easy kind of a weekend escape, or one that you could almost fly into Sydney and go straight to Wolgan, and you might as well get over your jet lag, set, you know, in this beautiful, you know, mountain backdrop. So Wolgan is one that delivers, you know, as it's one and only, it has a little bit of a sizzle to it, some remarkable food and wine delivered there. You might consider Sapphire down in Tasmania. So Tassie has quite a buzz right now.
It does.
And
I asked about it a lot.
yeah, it's exciting because it's very different. It's the island off the south coast. It hasn't developed like mainland, and so you feel like it's almost like 1950 down there. Hobart is the capital, and it's almost like a fishing village. You kind of feel, but a little British at the same time. Where Sapphire is situated is 2.5 hours north of Hobart on the east coast. And again, it's set in this unspoiled, protected Freycinet National Park. And you're looking at those mountains called the Hazard Mountains. They're made out of pink granite. So the lighting, sunrise, sunset, absolutely breathtaking. And this one is also fully inclusive with activity. So I guess it's upwards of about 20 plus activities to choose from. All of the suites face out, all capture the Hazard Mountains there.
Oh my gosh, in the water, drinking wine.
Okay, so, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to skip through that one. Yes, that's the famed marine oyster experience. So
yes, that's right. I saw that in my luxury training.
Right, you don the fly fishing waders and you walk out into the water and you learn about a life of an oyster essentially. But then your guide pulls out of their backpack the white tablecloth and the cut lemons and the dipping sauces and the Tassie bubbles and literally pulls oysters right out of the water and shucks, and you have a tasting right there. It's like,
that's awesome. Like, here's the life, and now we're gonna kill it, and then we're gonna eat.
But it's
that is the coolest thing ever.
It's like dock to dish or paddock to plate, or, you know, it is in Australia they talk about food miles quite a bit, where your food is being sourced from, and each one of these lodges are as local as they can be. You know, upwards of ideally like 85 to 90% really sourcing locally, but a lot of times you can't do that. Anyways, just to give you this unspoiled Tasmania it's close to almost a landscape like New Zealand. It's kind of rugged and unspoiled. On property, we have a Tasmanian devil.
Research. On the top right?
That's it. They are endangered. They are actually, their population is being decimated by a facial tumor. It's kind of a bit of a sad story, but we have a healthy population. And we have some research being done. So the numbers are quite low in the wild, but because we have them on property, we can kind of guarantee our guests can have a sighting and also better understand their situation and what we're doing to kind of help that. So that's a little bit about Sapphire. Again, you can spend easily 3-4 nights here, but always allow time for Hobart, because Hobart offers some really cool eclectic, like the Mona Art Museum, and there's the original prison, which is about 3 hours away.
I've noticed something. Only attractive people go to these locations.
Well, those are the models we're using. So Capella. All right, I'm going to go a little faster because otherwise I'm here all afternoon, and I know your clients probably don't need me speaking so long.
Awesome. Don't worry, you're good.
Capella Lodge, again, talk about dreamy and barefoot. This is one of the Bailey lodges, again, like Longitude and Silky. This is Capella Lodge. Is their first property they opened about 13 years ago. This island is set off the coast of Sydney east by about 2.5 hours. It is breathtaking.
Oh my gosh.
It looks like Bora Bora. We call it kind of Australia's Bora Bora. It's UNESCO World Heritage listed site, meaning that it's protected. They minimize the impact. They only allow 400 visitors per night, and there's only 300 year-round residents. We have our small properties, only 9 suites, and this is, again, an island to explore. So unlike Longitude that is fully inclusive of touring, here it's breakfast and dinner, because by day you're going to be out exploring the island. The Baileys have a great formula where it's captivating. They draw that view in, the floor to ceiling windows. Again, here, first name basis. It's all very, very almost like beach house chic. That's kind of the vibe here. But it's the world's most southern coral reef. So if you were wanting to come to Australia, and it's maybe January or February, which is technically the wet season and possible kind of cyclones up north on the Great Barrier Reef, you could really feel good about Lord Howe Island and Capella Lodge, because we are subtropical and have a different weather pattern during that time of year. So just to keep that in mind. So we have remarkable snorkeling and diving, hiking on the island, whole range of ability. This one in particular is quite gentle. You actually hike through some wetlands, so different topography. There's actually species found nowhere else on the world than they're endemic to Lord Howe Island. So it's the destination where this is the bragging rights, because nobody, it's a gem. Even so many Australians never get to Lord Howe Island. And we have these barbecue sites located throughout the island. So we put together a little, like they call it an esky, like a cooler. And with, whatever, shrimp on the barbie or whatever, like a little kebabs and things. And you make your own little fire wherever you are, and you just have lunch. It's all very relaxed. And again, it's unspoiled and it's protected, and it's just a place to detox, to reconnect. And it's great with the Bailey Lodges. They welcome families 10 years and older. So we can do the multi-gens here really well for grandparents, parents, and young kids. A lot of cool tide pooling, but at Ned's Beach, you can hand feed the kingfish, and they come and they swarm all over you, and it's kind of amazing. So it's a little gem of an island. Then we have Bomaroo Plains. So now I'm going to take you to a couple glamping, and I think I'll just touch on 2 here. Bomaroo Plains, complete opposite. I'm taking you up to the top, outside of Darwin, up on the top end there. We call it Okabanga Delta because
it looks like it. Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, so it's the floodplains, and it's all about the level of the water on the Mary River. This is very much a National Geographic or Lindblad type experience. It's very much African inspired. Stunningly beautiful, but you're going off the grid with this one. This doesn't have a lot of bells and whistles, because the luxury is interpreted with the intimate connection with the wildlife. So you have hundreds and thousands of pairs of magpie geese. You have these Melaleuca gum trees that's with the lighting. We take you out, but we tour by airboat, which is super fun. So it's like the Everglades meets the Okabanga. And that's a thrill. We also will take you on our safari vehicles and some walks as well. So, but the accommodations are 3-sided tents that you can look out, but they can't see in. So the wildlife is grazing all around you. But essentially it looks like a futon.
Totally.
But all eco. I mean, we could pick up tomorrow and again, kind of not leave a footprint. We have an amazing bird blind that honeymooners can sleep out at the bird blind.
Yeah,
so
those are awesome.
Really, this speaks to more of that naturally inspired kind of traveler.
Yep.
SALIS, my last of the glamping. This is one of the most remote of the lodges. It's way out on the west coast. It's called the NINGALOO Reef. So unlike the Great Barrier Reef, which is set offshore as a barrier, the NINGALOO is a fringing reef, meaning it comes right off the water's edge. And
is this near Perth?
Yeah, it's north of Perth.
Okay.
It's a couple hours flight north of Perth. Fly into Exmouth, and then we'll pick you up and drive you. We're situated within a national park called the Cape Range Wilderness Park. So if it weren't for SALIS, this is one of those privileged place where you wouldn't have the opportunity. And it's also what we refer to as where the outback meets the reef. So like I think I can't even find our tents in this picture, but we're in there somewhere. They're so well camouflaged.
The tents are still, we're not seeing them.
No, it's I'll show you another close up there in a second. But by day, hiking up Yardie Creek or Mandu Gorge walks, you can see emus and kangaroos and see rock art. remarkable geology. So in the morning, you can be out here hiking, come back at lunch, pick up a snorkel, and there's a drift snorkel, a current right in front of our campsite here. And the remarkable biodiversity, the Ningaloo Reef is pristine. It's really healthy. It's a lot of bucket list just to snorkel out on the reef, but it's also the opportunity to swim with whale sharks, which is everybody's bucket list. So from April to July, that's when the whale sharks migrate through.
Okay.
And they're the largest fish in the ocean. A lot of times they could be 40, 45 feet. I mean, they're literally, you're awestruck when you swim with them. We also have an opportunity to swim with humpback whales from August to October. So this is a seasonal camp from March to October. But as of April, you've got whale sharks, and then August, you've got the humpbacks. Any time is fantastic. But here you get a sense of, and truly light slows down a little bit here. The night sky is remarkable with the depth of the stars again. There's no ambient light here either. And you just take that big deep breath and realize, wow, you're really so very fortunate, because not many people make it out to South Salis.
Wow, that's unbelievable. What would you say, like, the average, I mean, is there an age that does these types? I mean, every lodge might be different, or do you appeal to a certain age?
It kind of depends on the lodge and what the offerings are. Some of our lodges have a little bit more kind of active adventure with hikes, or so that might pull. Well, again, because these are, there's various price points, but they're on the premium level. More 40s for the most part, 40s upwards to 60s, and then maybe some of our other destinations might speak to more of that 60s to maybe even young 80s. A little bit more of a slower, more of a lower impact experience.
What kind of price range do most of your lodges start at?
So depending on what's inclusive, I mentioned some of the lodges are fully inclusive, others are not. They have a few activities, but it allows you to spend the budget where you'd like. So Silky Oaks is starting at about probably 600 when it reopens. 700 Australian, which is probably more like maybe 475, 500 US.
That's not bad.
Again, our dollar is really strong. So when I say some of the other lodges might be 1,000 per person per night, and that's 1,000 Australian. So let's say 2,000, that's more like 1,400 US.
That's not bad at all.
And some of those are fully inclusive with touring and all of your meals and some wines.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's not bad for that kind of experience. Not for luxury.
So that's why, based on the budget available, to include one lodge at the end as a bit of a, and maybe it's not 3 nights, maybe it's just 2 nights, but it's the one place they're probably always we'll never forget.
Well, like you said, I mean, this could be your bucket list is, I want to do a glamping. I want to go I want to swim with whale sharks. And so you do your trip, and then you end it with 2-3 nights out here. Or you want to go, like my husband, I mean, I know when he watches this, he's going to be like, I want to go to the Great Barrier Reef, Lizard Island. That is his dream. And to be at a place where you are the only people on an island, you can't offer that with anything else. I mean, those are bucket lists. I mean, we talk about bucket lists. I know that's my name of my thing, but bucket list can be, I've always wanted to go, but there's also things that are like nobody else can do. And,
there's exclusive access, and these lodges provide that, because there's nowhere for you to stay inside this Cape range. You can stay 20 minutes down the street at the Novotel, but it's the Novotel, and it's a nice 3-star, which is great. And it gets you to the Ningaloo Reef. But wow, if you have the opportunity to put a few more pennies of the budget to the last couple nights.
I've had the privilege when we went to Africa with my parents, because they were paying. We had the privilege of staying in these types of accommodations, and it really changed it changed my life. That's why I sell South Africa. That's why I got so passionate, and that's why I want to do this, is because you don't, until you go and have that experience of standing out and the stars. I mean, we saw the Southern Cross. I'd never been in the Southern Hemisphere, and the food. And I remember one night we were in a glamping, and they said, you will hear the lions roar. And I was like, yeah, right. But they're going to put a CD outside my room. And then you sit there and you hear, roar. And I mean, I get goosebumps now. My husband, it changed us. We came home and we felt different inside. And a lot of that is just because it's not the same. It's not the same hotel. It's not the same experience. You get excited, you share that, but they're small. I mean, you know, and eating, I remember we eat at tables with other people and there's only 12 people at the whole place. And you're going, nobody else is here. And one of them we went to, I remember the guy, we were there and I said, how did you find out about 9/11? He goes, it took him 2 weeks.
Wow.
Because they didn't even have phones where they were.
No.
You know, and it was on the Okabanga Delta. And they said, we didn't have phones and it took us 2 weeks to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I went, wow.
So these Australian lodges are kind of speak to that almost African, I mentioned that African experience, but what they do is they connect you with that feeling that you got in Africa. That's what these lodges deliver in Australia because of that connection, that sense of place, and the sensory. That's exactly what these lodges.
I love it.
They fill your soul. And
yes, they do.
People ask me which one is my favorite. I'm like, it's like my children. But there's a couple that South Salis is one of them where I was just over. Wow, it was a moment. It was just a feeling, and maybe it's because I just felt more balanced there. I felt more connected and more in like, I don't know, centered, something like that. Anyways, each of these deliver.
It has, we cried when we left, and I look at this and I think, and that doesn't negate the other type of vacations, but I think if I'm gonna go and spend my money and go, I know that I want to have an experience like this. I don't know if I want to glamp. I don't know what I want to do, but I know that I would rather save a little bit more money. And this is not a sales thing at all. This is just me personally, because when you go that far to go to a place to really go, I mean, I ask people all the time, like, why do you want to go to Australia? Is it because you saw in a magazine? This always comes up with Bora Bora because everyone goes, I want to go to Bora Bora. And I'm like, okay, tell me why. And really what they want is maybe not Bora Bora. They want something else, but it's because they saw a photo. So then you have to kind of peel back, like, okay, what do you want about Australia? So then you have to start, do you want the animals? Like my parents go there for animals. They want animals. They're not going to hike. I mean, even when they were young, they weren't going to hike. But then other people, like, do you want a hiking experience? Do you want the animals? Or is it water? Or is it like Melbourne? Do you want to be a part of a city? Do you want the food? Like you were saying, so the food experience, I know you said you have a little bit on that too. I know we have a little bit more time on all this incredible food that you guys have, which of course,
okay, so in the last 10 years, the food scene in Australia has kind of exploded. And when I say that, I mean that I think they've always sourced regionally these luxury lodges, but I think Tourism Australia is doing a better job of telling the stories. And culinary is absolutely usually the what do they say? It's like the fifth item of interest when they poll, why do you want to go to Australia? Food is always quite low. And then at the end of a trip, they re-poll, and it's always usually number 2 after Great Barrier Reef.
Wow.
Because the culinary at each of these lodges is so innovative and so representative of that. So if you have an interest in food and wine, some of our lodges are located in wine regions, not all of them, but a few of them speak to more of this formal degustation, dining. It's artful. Like I said, it's innovative. The Louise that sits in the Barossa region in South Australia, just outside of Adelaide, is a part of Relais and Chateau, and offers culinary. It could be small plates and tapas and just that burger at the end of a day, which again, it's wonderful that the culinary throughout is amazing, but gosh, you just want the burger. But what these lodges provide you is, again, maybe a base camp to stay and enjoy the culinary on property, but also to explore that region. So within the Barossa, the Louise offers breakfast with the kangaroos, a picnic hamper where we take you out and into a wilderness park, and you can see the kangaroos right there. You can, again, it's about connecting with the community and the people. There's opportunities to taste your birth year in fortified wine or port wine at Seppeltsfield. February is when they crush, so you can be part of the winemaking experience. There's culinary schools. There's other Relais restaurants. So within the Barossa, it's really, I think with the Louise elevating and telling the stories of the culinary stories, other restaurants have kind of come come to fruition, I guess. They're calling it the Yountville effect.
Oh yeah.
So when French Laundry opened in Napa, now the other restaurants have all come in. So the Barossa offers, it's a really creative place. There's custom perfume blending as well. There's you can join the executive chef at the farmers market on a Saturday morning. It's a real community, and it's really special to make the interaction and to speak to the locals, essentially. Outside of Melbourne is Daylesford, which is in the state of Victoria. Here we have the Lake House. The Lake House is also a renowned culinary destination. It is not in a wine region, but pulls from the Yarra Valley wines. But the Lake House, it has this culinary excellence, 30 years, award-winning. And the woman who started the Lake House, Alla Wolf-Tasker, created a food movement. She, at the Lake House, we have a whole food prep kitchen, master classes. This is a double chef-hatted restaurant, meaning it's like Michelin stars, like a double Michelin restaurant. But it's all about the food movement that Alla created, working with the local food purveyors. So we have the dairy farm. That's all cheese in the bottom right image there.
Yum.
We have the butcher and
the dog,
and the dog who's doesn't know what's going on with the chickens.
Can I eat you?
But Alla has organized and created this remarkable food region just outside of Melbourne. So it's absolutely a food destination. And there's it's also the site of mineral springs. So an opportunity for you to some spa. Wombat National Forest, so there's some history with gold mining in the area, but truly this is kind of what we consider one of our culinary destinations. So all of the lodges deliver culinary at an exceptional level and very local. A few of them, this is their key experience, their core experience.
Yeah, it would be something that if people ask, I would reach out to you and go, okay, here's what they're like thinking about, you know. For example, you know, Alexis loves food and she loves to cook, and she probably loved to do something like that, where I don't enjoy cooking, but I love eating. So, well,
one of the other food culinary destinations is on the bottom left, Cape Lodge in the Margaret River. So that's south of Perth.
Yeah.
And that's right now we're in truffle season, which I'm dying to at some point get to Australia during truffle season and go out on the hunt. With the dogs that can sniff the mushrooms underground or something. So just absolutely fascinating.
She just wrote yum.
Exactly. I picked up some truffle sea salt when I was there last time. So the lodges, I like to layer them together, sequence them, but any one of them can be that standalone. And I'll just leave on that image just because it's so, it's quite captivating. And I thank you, Susan. I am inspired, as you can probably tell. And I'm passionate about this destination and the range of experiences and the connection that they provide. Truly.
No, so, I mean, Libby, this is unbelievable. I am so grateful because like I said, when I did some of the luxury training, I saw some of it. But for you to give us the details and to really piece it together, I mean, I'll say this: this is Australia. I've never seen it this way. Well, you see Australia, you see the bridge, you see the opera house. That's what I see when I see Australia. And I'm not saying that's not great, but I don't see it this way. And this, like I said, connects you. And I think people are looking for that kind of experience. And like I said, it might take a while for some people to get there. I tell everyone, all of my bucket list goals are to get people excited about someday. We don't even know when Australia is opening. So, but
right, it's looking like into 2021. Because they see us as reckless. We've got to get our country under control here. But so at the moment, no, I'm still in the inspirational phase, keeping the dream alive.
Yeah.
I think absolutely include some of the city centers, Sydney, Melbourne. They are very different and they both have their own energy. But ensure you have at least one, if not two, outside excursions so that you see more of the layers of Australia, the more of the diversity.
No, this is wonderful. Does anyone have any questions that we haven't answered besides when can I go, or how are we doing COVID? I mean, those are never going to be answered well, but I think this is great. What we do is we're going to send it off because we had a bunch more people signed up. We send off the Zoom to everyone. And then I'm going to post it on my Facebook page. And then if anything else comes up, I will reach out to you. I am so appreciative for what you've done. I seriously am like just dreaming. I do this on a lot of them, but I'll be honest, this is probably one of my favorites. And it's probably also, I just did the specialist program back in March, but it just to see all of this and go, oh,
it's
like,
all waiting for us.
I'm like, oh, I missed out. And I have a family right now that's looking at like renting a villa, you know, and one of my good friends next summer. And I'm going, no, I think I'm going to try to find one of these lodges. Her brother lives there in Sydney and they're all going to go there. And I'm like, I think, cause they're all adults. I'm like, I think I'm going to try to do one of these, or at least add on to it with this on the end, because they love wine. They love food. And I'm like, they need to have an experience like this so they can all really enjoy it.
A shared experience with family, extended family, 2 families traveling together. We're seeing that that trend as well. So because these lodges range from 4 to 40 suites on average, they're small, they're intimate, they absolutely lend for the shared experiences.
Yeah, so you're not in a hotel where you're not together. That's why people like villas. But I'm thinking, oh, this gives you experiences that everyone can enjoy, especially when you're all adults. So wonderful. Well, thank you guys so much. I'm going to end the call. And like I said, if you guys have any questions, you know how to reach us. I appreciate it, Libby. Go enjoy your afternoon. I'm going to go get some food because I am hungry after seeing all that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone. Thanks for joining.
Okay, bye.